Hello, my name's Bev and I'm the author of the book Please Eat, A Mother's Struggle to Free Her Teenage Son from Anorexia, which describes our family's battle with the deadly eating disorder, anorexia nervosa, which my teenage son Ben developed back in 2009 when he was just 15 years old. This post is from the 10th of July 2011 and I was yet again getting really frustrated after our session with Cams on the Friday, and this blog post is called Experiments, Choices and Mistakes. If I had £10 for every time these words have been mentioned over the last 20 months of eating disorder treatment, I'd be rich. I believe our slow progress on the weight gain front, indeed the lack of progress on the weight gain front, is due to our treatment team's insistence on letting Ben, quote, make his own choices, unquote. So once again, Ben has lost weight. On Friday, his weight was down by just over a kilo, which means he has essentially maintained weight since April. After an initial weight gain which came as a result of me introducing the contract. Consistently over the past 20 months, we've been told that Ben, quote, needs to experiment to see what works and what doesn't and make his own choices based on the results. Sometimes he will make the wrong decisions and other times he will make the right decisions, unquote, etc., etc., etc. But basically, the essence, according to Cams, is that Ben needs to do this independently, himself. It won't work if it's me that's, quote, enforcing, unquote, it, quote, as was proven by Ben's initial weight gain when he obviously wasn't ready for it, unquote. 1 year ago, the team swapped my no-compromise 3 meals, 3 snacks eating plan approach for an approach where the control was gradually handed back to Ben. Despite the fact that there followed 7 months of consistent weight loss, this initial weight gain period is viewed as a, quote, wrong choice, unquote, on my part as a parent. In other words, I was forcing Ben to eat when he, quote, obviously wasn't ready to do it, unquote. Now that Ben is almost entirely, quote, making his own choices, unquote, he's, quote, learning from his own mistakes, unquote, apparently. But this wrong choice, right choice approach simply threw Ben into a yo-yo kind of limbo land, which is where we ended up at the beginning of 2011. He was crying out to the treatment team that he was finding it incredibly hard to move forwards. Their answer to this was to simply continue the experimental approach. So at that point, I decided to introduce the contract. It wasn't their idea. They'd never heard of contracts. It was mine, thanks to some excellent advice and experience from fellow forum members at the Around the Dinner Table forum and sample contracts on their Feast website. You'll find links below to those 2 websites. The contract was my cunning cloak and dagger way of getting us back on the weight gain track. Because there had been so much bad press from Ben and our team on my initial insistence on a 3 meals, 3 snacks eating plan, I had to find another creative way of achieving the same thing. I knew if I did nothing, we would never leave limbo land. And the fantastic thing was the contract worked, and he willingly and enthusiastically cooperated. But the Cams team simply saw this as happening because Ben is obviously now ready to make the right choices. No treatment team, he is not, and I need more support to push towards a proper daily calorie intake. I simply don't believe my son needs less calories per day than the 2,500 calories recommended for adult men to maintain their weight, let alone increase. And this is being proven by the fact that Ben is once again losing and maintaining weight rather than showing a consistent increase. Why, oh why, couldn't they have insisted from the start that he needs 3,000 calories a day or whatever it is he needs to increase his weight at an average of half a kilo a week, which is what is recommended by the NICE guidelines, the National Institute for Clinical Excellence, until he is weight restored. Why can't they see that it is them that are making the wrong choices by permitting everyone to watch while this weight loss stroke maintenance continues until whatever time it is that Ben starts making the right decisions and convinces himself that yes, he does need significantly more calories than he is currently eating. Time and time again I have produced my chart which shows that Ben has lost weight since the start of treatment 20 months ago for a condition that is supposed to be all about weight gain. And I've also produced various other charts which show that Ben is still underweight for his height and age, plus photos that show his strapping, sporty physique before the eating disorder, which show that Ben never was and was never supposed to be Mr. Puniverse. I believe he will continue to stay yo-yoing up and down with a gradual downward trend if they don't support me in going for full-on calorie increase, whilst also supporting me with insisting that Ben actually does need to have a higher BMI when he is weight restored than they think he does. And that's the end of that post. I'll just read a quick post from the 11th of July, the next day, which is called True Soul Food on the Around the Dinner Table Parents Forum. I know I keep going on about how much of a lifesaver the Around the Dinner Table Parents Forum has been for me over the past 18 months, but it's true. I've met so many supportive people through it from across the globe and made a number of very good friends here in the UK. Last night I chatted to another UK-based mum of a 17-year-old teenager with anorexia, and you'd be amazed at how much common ground there was. I can't emphasise how helpful it is to talk to other parents who are in a similar position to you. Unlike so-called lay people, there's something incredibly comforting about chatting to someone that really does get it. It's a bit like living in a far-flung foreign land for years, then meeting up with someone who has the same language and culture as you. True soul food. And you can devour it at Around the Dinner Table, the absolutely fabulous forum for parents of children and teenagers with eating disorders, and also its parent site, Feast, which is jam-packed with goodies to help your child recover from anorexia, bulimia, and other eating disorders. And that's the end of that very short post. You can tell that I'd obviously been on the forum after the CAMS session, just venting really, and looking for support, because it was really weird that everything I was finding on the forum contradicted what was going on at CAMS. Not always, not all the time, but a lot of the time. And this was really difficult to juggle. I felt like a kind of pig in the middle, and from what I could see on the Around the Dinner Table forum, the treatment that their children were getting seemed to be far more successful than the treatment we were getting. And I mean, to me, it spoke for itself, that Ben had been with CAMS for 20 months and his weight had gone down. And eating disorder treatment should be about weight going up, for goodness sake, especially as Ben has had those 2 heart scares. So yet again, I was trying to decide whether we should continue with CAMS, whether it was doing any good, whether it would be just better for me to take over. Anyway, thank you for listening. You'll find a link below to my blog And you'll also find a link to my website where you can download free PDFs of my blog, and also a link to Amazon where you can buy a copy of my book.